brief but a very critical session that we are holding at the PAFI 8th National Forum titled Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. As you know, this is the 75th year of celebration. We were just having a word with our guest of honor today, Mr. Govind Mohan, Secretary, Ministry of Culture, and he said something really important that sets the tone for the discussion today. He said, this is the common legacy of everybody. This is not just for the government or a set of community or armed forces to, or let's say the BSF to celebrate. We all have to come together and celebrate it. It's a grand occasion. It's 75 years. It's a massive milestone that we all need to get hold of. Before I proceed, I just want to quickly mention about Mr. Mohan. He's obviously, his CV is available on the website, as we put most of our distinguished speakers there. But I say that, just to take you back quickly, after his initial work in Sikkim as an IS officer, he's been with DEA dealing with FDI and multilaterals, then Cabinet Secretariat for a short period of time, then again at the Finance Ministry. In between, he was away for about 3 years at the Indian Embassy in Washington, handling mostly in the commercial side, so investments, and very, very engaged with the business community. In my many interactions, I found him exceptionally helpful. And then before this position, he was Joint Secretary and Additional Secretary at the Home Affairs. He's taken over on the 1st of October, and obviously a matter of great pride. He's both a management graduate and an engineering graduate from IIM and from the IIT. So somebody who's eminently qualified to deal with this community and a subject of this complexity, but importance. I'm going to start by asking him to share a few minutes about his thought and overview about this very important national program, I would say international program, that the government of India has embarked upon, and also then taken through some discussions on how we can get involved, how other communities can get involved. Let me turn to Mr. Mohan for his opening comments.
Thank you, Virat, and greetings to all your viewers from my side on a personal basis and from the Ministry of Culture. You have asked me to spend a few minutes on this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav program. And I would start by telling you and your viewers that this is a very important initiative of the Government of India, where we are standing on the 75th anniversary of India's independence. We look back and we celebrate all that has happened during the freedom struggle and in the 75 years after we attained our independence. And then as we stand on this very important milestone, we look ahead and we look forward to an India which realizes the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister, the India 2.0, the India of Atmanirbhar Bharat, the India that is fueled by the 5 I's of intent, inclusion, infrastructure, investment, and innovation. So this is the significance of this event. It's an event which is meant to celebrate the past, equally also look forward to a bright and glorious future for our country. The event started on the 12th of March of 2021, where at Dandi, the Honorable Prime Minister inaugurated an event which commemorated the famous Dandi March of Mahatma Gandhi. A large number of dignitaries then marched to the point along the route where Mahatma Gandhi had marched so many years ago. And the culmination of this event happened a few days later, where the Honorable Vice President of India graced that occasion. This was the first event. And as we stand here in October, we have already had about 7,000 events curated by various ministries and departments of the Government of India, which were both online and offline, and which have encompassed the entire length and breadth of the country, and also a large number of countries abroad, where our 200 plus missions have also organized a large number of programs. Just to put the whole thing in perspective, the events that are proposed to be organized are sought to be done along 5 major themes. And these themes are being followed across each event or across each group of events. The first of these themes is the freedom struggle, where we commemorate our freedom, we commemorate our freedom fighters. The second theme is our achievements, which we call Achievements at 75, where we look back with pride at what we have achieved in the 75 years of independence. The third theme is Ideas at 75, where we kind of ideate on what we want to become over the next 25 years when we are 100 years old, and we spread those ideas. The fourth theme is Resolve at 75, where we make certain sankalps or resolves for the future. And the fifth theme is Actions at 75, where we look at the multitude of things that are happening within government, outside government, and which are fueling the growth of this country. The events that we seek to organize also have five distinguishing characteristics. The first is that it should be a whole of government approach. We want each event to involve the central government, the state and UT governments, our missions abroad, and it is not about just one department doing anything. That's very important. The second point is Jan Bhagidari. So every event should be such where people, large number of people, involve themselves in the event, commemorate the event, enjoy the freedom, and take part in the festivities surrounding that event. So Jan Bhagidari is very important. We also stress that the event should be low cost. So it is very easy to do high cost events and get the glossy publicity that can, come quite easily after that. But the whole focus is that there should be resource pooling. And like the whole of government approach, it is not that it's one department or one ministry or one state government expends everything. Everyone has to come together, pool their resources, and then, do that event. The fourth feature is the digital nature of the event, in the sense that there has to be the outreach has to be on social media, it has to be on digital channels. These are the channels which people subscribe to today, particularly the youth, and that's what we emphasize upon. And the last and most important is that we want visibility, outreach, and impact. So every event should be visible to a large number of people. If it's online, then there has to be a substantial online audience. If it's offline, then there has to be a large number of physical presence. But the visibility is important, the impact is important, and the reach is important. So these are the five themes. These are the five characteristics. And following this rubric, as I told you, we have done about 7,000 events. We have yet to involve a large section of the private sector, of the corporate world. We will talk about it in the program as we go along. But from the government side, we have put in a lot of effort. And you may be able to see, if you look even mildly around you, our logo staring at you from billboards, from from posters at various places. So the Azadi Amrit Mahotsav is a logo which is now widely in circulation. And just to sum up my opening remarks, this is a moment of great celebration, and every Indian has to involve himself in this celebration, has to partake in the celebration, and that is what the intent of the government and this ministry is.
Thank you so much. That's a really broad view and sort of clarifies a lot of issues, the various pillars that you've spoken about. It is really, really important to help for the delegates to understand the width of this program, the depth of it, and how, hopefully we can participate more. I just want to make a mention on behalf of PAFI. We are already using the logo for all the ads that we put out proudly without taking permission, yeah. Which is so permissionless visibility. We are already doing that. We are engaged in that. This event, this session itself is a mark of our engagement, and I can tell you that we will certainly be looking to engage you and your officers more and more to see how we can get the business community engaged, especially policy professionals who are, many of whom are watching you live. Before I proceed, it would be remiss of me not to make a mention of the Honorable Prime Minister's message to PAFI at this event, wishing the community success and the deliberations and seeking inputs for policymakers for charging the futuristic roadmap. In that message, which was put out today in an ad as well, he said, and I quote, as the nation celebrates Amrit Mahotsav of its independence, our vision to build a glorious India is given by the collective resolve of 130 crore citizens. The role of valued stakeholders such as PAFI assumes a greater importance in such a scenario to capitalize the opportunities in the resurgent new India. He chose to mention one government program in this, and that was the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So we are very pleased that he did that, and a matter of great honor for us that he decided to send a message which was very encouraging for us. With that, let me turn to some of the questions that are sort of coming in, and I'm in receipt of those questions as our viewers are sending in, our delegates are sending in these messages. The Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav campaign stresses on unsung heroes of independence. What does that mean? Because we have these very famous heroes, and then you speak about unsung heroes. It will help to understand for the wider delegate community what that meant.
So this is a very important part of this entire program, Virat. Now, there are a large number of people who had participated in the independence struggle. And while they are known locally within their regions, there are monuments which are dedicated to them. But again, as I mentioned, our independence is a collective legacy of the entire community of Indians, whether they are here in India or whether they are spread out in the diaspora abroad. And it is important that their contribution is not only recognized by the people of that particular region, but it's recognized by each and every Indian everywhere. So, what we want to do is to highlight those people and those movements and those struggles which may not be known widely across the spectrum all over the country. And that is what we mean by unsung heroes of independence. So, I will talk to you about a few specific examples because this is really, really very important and one of the core sort of components of this entire program that we are developing and we have developed so far. So let me talk to you about the Indian National Army. The INA of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had 60,000 soldiers, of which 44% died. And if you look at it across armies all over the world, that is one of the highest mortality rates in any army. So nearly 50% of the INA soldiers perished in the freedom struggle while fighting for their country. Again, that is a fact known to a few people, but not widely known. And on 21st of October, 2 days ago, we have done a series of programs across the country and across the world to basically commemorate the occasion of the provisional government of India, which Subhash Chandra Bose declared in 1943 in Port Blair. And we have tried to put across this statistic in as many places as we can. I will talk to you about a lady called Rani Gaidenliu. She was a Naga social activist born in 1915 who fought against the foreign domination, who was incarcerated from 1932 to 1947, so 15 long years. And she was conferred a Padma Bhushan subsequently. She's very well known among her community in the Northeast. But again, sadly, it is not a household name. It is not a name known in large parts of the country. I will talk to you about Veera Rani Abakka, the queen of Ullal in Karnataka, who fought against the Portuguese in the 16th century, who defeated the Portuguese time and again, and who is known as Abhaya Rani, the fearless warrior queen. She is a very well-known name in that region of Karnataka, but again, sadly, not known throughout the country. I'll talk to you about Alluri Sitaram Raju, who steered a famous revolt called the Rampa Rebellion against the British, and this was against the Forest Act. And again, he was caught and kept in captivity for long. I will talk to you about Purushottam Kakotkar, who was born in Goa, who was deprived of his civil rights, who was put in jail in Portugal and who returned to his country only at an advanced age in the late 1950s. There are so many other instances, Virat. There is the famous Mangad massacre, which took place in Bhilwara in November of 1913, where 1,500 tribals belonging to the Bhil community were killed. They were shot by the then powers because they were protesting against bonded labor and against high land revenue collections. Similar massacres took place in Assam, they took place in Andhra Pradesh, they took place in Karnataka. So there is a huge amount of of people, of movements, which together culminated into a very vibrant freedom struggle, which is not yet known widely. And so what we have done is we have taken a number of steps. We have developed a website where we are putting these names as we get information about them. We are also opening up to open source edition of names. And anyone who has information about such unknown warriors, unsung heroes, they can give us that information. They can also load it directly, and we will curate it, subsequently. We have also asked the airlines, the railways to spread this message about unsung warriors. Some of the airlines are giving regular broadcasts during the flights about these unsung warriors. We are also started a podcast on freedom movement. It's called Zara Yaad Karo Kurbani, which we started on 21st October, this Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose event. And so, through a variety of mechanisms, we are trying to collect information about unsung heroes, we are trying to document it, and we are trying to propagate it. And at the end of the day, what we want is a very organically growing list of such people who are then available to the large community of Indians in the country and who can then be celebrated. We are also doing a series of Amar Chitra Katha comics on about 75 of these warriors, which we propose to launch in Republic Day next year, where we will develop the entire story. Many of them are women, many of them belong to the weaker sections of society, but they all fought for the independence of the country. So, I mean, the guiding theme is that everyone who fought for independence needs to be celebrated, needs to be commemorated, because independence is the cumulative effect or impact of their collaborative efforts. And it is not fair that we forget the contribution of anyone who fought for the country, So this is what we actually mean by the unsung heroes of independence.
It is certainly a amazing pursuit for you. It gave me goosebumps as you listed out those stories, and for them to be unsung and unknown is a real pity. So thank you for doing that on behalf of the delegates and everybody who's here. This is just an amazing initiative. I was looking at the list of programs that you also spoke about. By the way, I want to mention that we did do a program on creative economy yesterday. We did a fantastic session that had a lot of vibrant participation. So it went towards this end. But I want to sort of turn to the list that you mentioned about freedom struggle achievements at 75, ideas at 75, resolve at 75, and actions at 75. The one that got my attention most is the ideas at 75. If I could ask you to spend a few minutes on that, and we'll sort of try and link on how we can get plugged into that as well.
Yeah, so Virat, the idea at 75 comes from what the Honorable Prime Minister says, that the idea of India is an idea of opportunity and aspiration. So, under this broad theme of an idea of India, we are wanting to develop the various sub-themes which inform us. And as I mentioned, the freedom struggle is only one part of the entire program of Azadi Amrit Mahotsav. And in ideas at 75, we are looking at what are those ideas which will inform us when we go forward and develop this country over the next 25 years and to the point where we are 100 years old. So let me talk to you about some of those ideas. One of those ideas is Vasudev Kutumbakam, Vasudev Kutumbakam, which is as old as the scriptures of this country are, which is an age-old idea, and which we are trying to manifest through involvement of the entire diaspora, the Indian diaspora across the world, the 200 plus missions that we have across the world. So coming again to the 21st October event, where we celebrated the formation of the Provisional Government of India, the Irizi Hukumat-e-Hind, as it was called by Netaji. This event was not only held in India, it was held at Singapore, where at Esplanade Park, there is a memorial to the Netaji, which has been built by the diaspora, the Indian diaspora in Singapore. We did events in Malaysia, where there are a large number of people who fought for the Indian National Army and who later settled there. We did events in Myanmar, we did events in Bangladesh. So there was a presence right across the world in terms of the events that we did around the birthday of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. So similarly, every event that we are doing, we are trying to develop an international resonance where it will not only be celebrated by the diaspora, but through the efforts of diaspora, the big things, the great things, the good things about India are also then made known to the people where the diaspora is residing. So that's one big idea, Vasudev Kutumbakam. Linked to this very powerful idea is the idea of the perpetual, perennial Indian message of unity and peace. You may have seen just 3 days back, on the 20th of October, the Honorable Prime Minister was in Kushinagar. Now, Kushinagar is a place which is extremely holy for about 540 million Buddhists across the world. And this is the place where Buddha attained to the Mahaparinirvan, where he left for his heavenly abode. And in that program, the Honorable Prime Minister stressed repeatedly that message of unity, peace, of goodwill, of friendship, which is the legacy of Buddhism. And he was addressing a large number of monks who had come from Sri Lanka. He was addressing the ambassadors of nearly 10 countries where Buddhism is the state religion, or followed by a large number of people. And the big thing which was said there is that the entire idea about Atmanirbharta, or self-reliance, is essentially linked to Buddha's teaching that you have to be your own guiding light. Apo Divam Deepam Bhava. So, so that message, that's a big idea. And that's an idea which has, been perennial to the Indian civilization. And that's one of the things which we want to talk about during this program. We also want to talk about innovation, which is the other big thing that's happening in India. We have the third largest, startup community. We have 50,000 startups. A large number of them are turning into unicorns. In 2021, which is the big COVID year, you have a large number of these startups becoming unicorns. So it's a big thing. And this entire innovation ecosystem is something that we need to celebrate. So that's another idea. There is the idea of national security, which our armed forces are celebrating through programs which remember the martyrs. They'll do a program where they will decorate the memorials, the statues of martyrs. They will go to the homes of martyrs. They will celebrate the martyrs in the Republic Day parade. So this is the entire idea of national security, that while on one hand we are giving out a message of unity and peace, but we should not be seen to be a weak, nation in terms of our ability to protect our borders and our sovereignty. We will celebrate through ideas the whole concept of development. So the Ministry of Rural Development will do a 90-day program on Antyodaya. And Antyodaya, again, is a concept very integral to India, where the whole focus is on reaching the last mile, reaching the last person at the last end of the weakest chain, as the Mahatma Gandhi had put it so eloquently. And this is, how the fruits of development can reach to the last sort of link in the weakest chain. We will talk about sustainability. We have a huge amount of installed solar capacity today, as you're aware, about 136 gigawatts. We will hit 175 by 2020. We will cross 400 by 2030. We have a PLI scheme. We have a huge number of PPP projects in the solar space. So this whole concept of green energy and sustainability, which again harks back to the Indian civilization's, big emphasis on living with nature, on coexisting with nature. So that's another idea. And to sum it up, although there are many more, we will also talk about justice. How do you deliver justice to people? We will talk about tele law. We will talk about child rights. We will talk about women's rights. So the whole concept of justice. So these are, strong ideas. And these are ideas which have to inform us, have to form the bedrock of the foundation on which we will build the new India. and we will celebrate all these ideas during this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Thank you so much. We're down to the last 5 minutes. The most important question for you for this set of delegates who are watching you, which is about the economy. How does the celebration incorporate the growth challenges of the economy in it? And along with that, anything that you could specifically suggest? We will, of course, reach out to you. What is it that we can do to start engaging more actively with your department and with you as PAFI, as the industry and the business community?
So I'll spend a little less time on the first part and more on the second. So on the economy, all that we can say from the Azadi Ka Mahotsav rubric is that what are we essentially doing is that we are creating collaborative synergies. As I told you, every event that we organize is not an event about one ministry or one government. It's an event about a large number of ministries, large number of governments. And that collaborative synergy, the spirit of that collaborative synergy is what we expect to spread out or to transform into the normal functioning of various ministries, departments, governments, and break the silos and work together in collaborative efforts. And we feel that the entire economic growth is going to get a huge multiplier effect if we just come and work together. Whether it's ease of doing business, whether it's a program like Gati Shakti, whether it's a program like the National Asset Monetization Pipeline, these will only work if we let go of the silo approach and work on a convergence approach. And when we organize events, we push that collaborative approach. And we feel and we hope and we expect that that collaborative approach will then also inform the functioning of the various institutions and thereby lead to much, much more enhanced growth. So that's one part of the economy. Now, coming to the engagement of the private sector, I'll spend whatever little time we have left now on that. So as I told you, Virat, we have had not the most desirable participation from the industry, from the corporates, from the private sector, maybe because we have not been able to be strong enough in our outreach. We would like to correct that mid-course. And immediately we want to call the chambers together to talk to us and share with them the programs that we are wanting to do over the next couple of months, 3 months, and then expect them to tell us how they will sort of participate in those programs. So one is the enhanced participation of this sector that you represent in our programs. And that can happen only if we enter into a dialogue, which we propose to do. But more importantly, why don't you look within? Why don't you look within and see what you can do which celebrates India's independence or celebrates any of the 5 themes which I have outlined?
Right.
So, I'll give you a very small example. On again 21st of October, we curated a circuit called the Netaji Tourist Circuit, which connects all the places which are involved with his life. The industry could, popularize that circuit and ask the people working for you to go and explore that circuit, to get to know more about the contribution of Netaji to the freedom struggle. We can, in Kevadia, we have the statue of the Sardar, where we do a large event on the 31st of October called the National Unity Day. Why don't you encourage tourism to go and see this beautiful place? You could also, through your corporate social responsibility budgets, look at how you can, develop parks, statues, memorials for those unsung heroes that I talked to you at length about. So there is simply an ocean of things which you can do. You have large resources, a large number of manpower working for you. And it's just a question of intent. If you just decide to focus on how the private sector can be an equal participant in this very important program, which is the collective legacy of the entire set of Indians and not just of the government, I'm sure you'll find a lot of answers. And as a first step, I propose to meet the chambers and to elicit their cooperation in this very important program.
Thank you so much. That is an excellent set of ideas. Also, an opening for us to come and engage with you more. We promise to do that. My colleagues are already very interested and quite when I spoke to them, they were deeply interested in trying to take the discussion forward. So we will reach out to you. We will also encourage our companies and our colleagues. About 75 of them are just members of PAFI, but there are several others who we are networked with to try and look at this very seriously and in creative ways on how we can jointly collaborate and take the message forward. As you've said, that one of the pieces that we need to do is visibility, outreach, and impact. So certainly that's one in which we can participate. In the ideas piece, we can participate. So thank you so much for taking the time and spending the time with us this afternoon. It's really helped increase the information, the knowledge about this very, very important year-long celebration, and also allowed us opportunities to plug in. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Virat, and thank to PAFI for giving us an opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to hand it back to the organizers for the next session. Please stand by. The next session is with the Minister of Civil Aviation.